about to meet a woman with an incredible story and a very important message. Author of the book, Bully-Proofing You, Improving Confidence and Personal Value from the Inside Out, we have Jeanie Cisco-Meth. Welcome.
Thank you, Joe.
Now, let's begin with the macro, the statistics. How big a problem is bullying?
It's absolutely huge. 1 in 4 people are bullied.
That's 25%.
Yeah, it is.
And there's
It
even a
is.
rumor, I don't know whether you agree with this or not, that figure may be low.
I believe it is low. I believe it's much higher than that. And the reason for that is the blind spot in the problem. That blind spot is that we don't see who's being bullied.
Mm-hmm.
We are blind to it, and they are mute. They don't tell people that they're being bullied. And so if you have 1 in 4 reporting it,
Right.
it's probably much higher than that.
It's underreported.
Correct, yes.
Now, you just said something a moment ago that really kind of gets to me. We're blind, they're mute. Let me feed that back to you and make sure I understand you correctly. The mute part, I think I get.
Right.
In other words, unfortunately, too few kids
Correct.
come forward to a parent, a teacher, an administrator, and say,
Right.
I'm being bullied.
Right.
But we're blind. I mean, don't schools have programs, and what's missing? Something must be
Right.
missing, because it's always an astonishment when there's a tragedy.
Right, yeah.
Right.
Right. The traditional view is, or the traditional idea is that I can look at someone and see that they've been bullied. That's not true at all. I'm 6 foot tall. My son is 6'11". We're both bullying victims. As a young child, I had many learning disabilities, dyslexia, vision, everything. My son, if he could be beaten up by somebody, then they were the tough one. And if he retaliated, he was the bully.
Right.
And so,
right.
and when a 6 foot tall person goes into the principal and says, I'm being bullied, they laugh at you.
We think we know who to look
Right.
for. We think it's the scrawny kid who's, short and got glasses like
Right.
Coke bottles.
Right.
Okay? All
But-
right. If there's a blind spot, what do we need to do about it?
There are warning signs, but don't rely on the warning signs. Don't wait for the warning signs. Don't be the parent saying, oh my gosh, I didn't know, or the teacher, oh my gosh, I didn't know. And so some of those warning signs are there. The child who will say things, I don't like myself. Or the mother that walks by the mirror and goes, oh my gosh, I forgot my makeup, I look horrible. Or the father that's, oh, I can't do the things I used to do. Those are warning signs. It's not, typically we think it's the kid that sits by themselves. Typically we think it's the kid that, like you were saying, the child that ostracized, the goths, so to speak. It's not. It's everyday people.
You talk about the behavior of the parents, and yet obviously you're not blaming the parents.
No, not at all.
Okay.
Not at all. I'm blaming the blind spot because you don't see it coming. You don't see it coming. You can hear it if you're trained.
Okay.
And you can see it if you're trained.
If we're going to be proactive, and by
Yes.
we, I mean parents, I mean teachers, I mean administrators, what do we do? Just make sure that if you got 30 kids in a class, that at some point every week or so, or every month or so, you find them on the playground, you take them aside for a moment and say, how's it going? Anything I should know? What do you do?
Yes. So as a former teacher, I was a high school teacher for 17 years, and I dealt with alternative high, which means kids involved in gangs and drugs, so very
wow.
high-risk population.
right.
The number one excuse that I heard from teachers was, I'm too busy. Well, I'm here to let you know that the grades don't matter. They don't matter. What matters is the connection to the student. Listen to your students. Talk to your students. I've been to my students' homes. And typically when I would walk in the door, I would know immediately what the problem was. I've sat at lunch with them. You go sit down with a bunch of kids and get to know them. Listen to them.
And this is what you do now, I gather. Schools, school
Yes.
districts, other organizations bring you in to train them. What do you do for them?
What I do is I teach them to see the warning signs. I teach them what to do. I get rid of the blind spot for them.
Seems to me like an immense public service. And I got to say, for me, the key takeaway here, too, really. Number one, I'll never assume I know what a bullying victim looks like again, which is great. Number two, know the warning signs and don't wait for them.
Correct. Absolutely. Yes.
Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank
Really
you.
appreciate it.
Thank you so much.